Good morning. Welcome to Seattle Atheist Church. We call ourselves an atheist church because you will never hear anything supernatural promoted from the podium. Atheist, agnostic, skeptic, whatever you like to call yourself, you are welcome here. This is our, our creed. Seattle Atheist Church is founded on the principles of scientific naturalism and secular ethics. Truth claims are attempted here, and we stand ready to revise our thinking in light of new information. We attempt to be excellent to all conscious beings, and we believe in good, because good works in non-mysterious ways. If that sounds good to you, then you are probably in the right place. So the way we do it here is that the members ourselves give the talks, and everyone is welcome to give a talk. It's not required. And we have our planning meeting quarterly, where everyone is welcome to come. If you would like to support the church financially, there's a donation jar in the back of the room, and also Troy can swipe credit cards. Those donations go basically just to rent this room. So without further ado, thank you, Eva. Come on up.
Hello. This talk is on the topic, failure is magic. And I'm going to be a bad fairy for you this morning and give you all a blessing. I hope you all fail. I hope you fail soon, quickly, easily, and often. I'll remind you of this at the end when you'll have a better idea what the heck I'm talking about. There's a lot of pep talk out there about how you should go ahead and try things and fail and it's okay and try again and just keep going and eventually you'll get there. And there's value in that. There is value in trying things and failing. There are things to be learned. And I'm going to go into those a bit, but I'm going to go on with how we make that happen, because it's not a fair thing to ask people to do in a lot of situations. It's not always safe to fail. So first I want to talk about why it's good to fail. If you fail, that is because you are doing something. And you're not just doing something that's easy and obvious and within your existing skills. You're trying something that you don't know whether you'll succeed at. And that is the only way to advance your skills and to learn new things. If you are never failing, if you've gotten an A in every single class you've ever taken without trying, you are not challenging yourself. You shouldn't even be in those classes if they're that easy. Take the next level up, learn something else. So we do need to be sometimes failing in order to know that we're actually getting somewhere and not just spinning our wheels. It's pretty easy to spin your wheels. You know, you can get those little portable ones. It's not hard. There are benefits to failing. If you're a scientist, you want to make sure you can fail. If you come up with a hypothesis that is not actually disprovable, you are not doing science. And to be disprovable is to have a way to fail. If you test a hypothesis and it's not true, excellent, you have learned something. You now know more than you did before, and you have suggestions of other avenues you could test. Especially if the failure was surprising. Surprising failures are fantastic. Surprising failures are things to pay attention to and go, things do not work the way I thought they did. Something is up here. There is something to learn, something to find. In programming, that's an important principle. You want to pay attention if the program is behaving in a way you didn't expect. Don't just go, oh, that did, never mind, go on to something else. No, wait, why did it do that? There is something you're not accounting for. And that's true in other things. It's not just computers that do something that you didn't think they would do, and that's because you're not taking something into account. So you want to leave yourself the opportunity to have failures by trying new territory, and you want to notice failures and learn from them. You also want to keep having different failures. If you're failing the same way every time, you're still not learning anything. Pounding your head against the wall is going to keep on hurting. You know, at best you might dent the wall, give yourself a concussion, but you're not going to make progress. Whatever you're trying to do by banging on the wall, unless it's giving yourself a bruise, it's not working. Try something different. So noticing that it's not working and changing your approach in a way informed by the way the failure worked is what you want to be doing. Not giving up, but also not just continuing on, you know, the whole, you know, be a man sort of thing, just keep going. That's not useful. Figure out what's not working, try something different, learn from that, try something different, learn from that. So you want to fail in different ways. Fail variously, fail gloriously, fail in ways you notice and learn from. And each time you fail, you should be starting from a new base level because now you know a little bit more. And maybe the process of failing has actually increased your skills as well as your knowledge. If you're doing, for example, a physical task, like I've taken aerial classes. I'd say I'm taking aerial classes, but I'm not doing them very often now. But it's really, really hard. It starts with, okay, get up on the trapeze. Oh, sure, that's easy. You just kind of flip yourself upside down, no problem. Seriously, that's kind of how they started. And I failed at that a whole lot of times before I started failing at it differently. You start off by failing to even get close, and then you fail to actually get there. And then you fail to do it quite all the way, and you need a little boost. And then you fail to do it gracefully. And then you fail to do it gracefully and remembering the next step you're going to do. And each time you're failing better. The slogan "fail better," by the way, is part of a quote from Samuel Beckett, where if you look at the whole thing, it's really not that inspiring, but Beckett generally isn't. So there are all these things that are great about failing. You learn from it, you start at a new base, but there's bad stuff about failing too. I mean, otherwise why would you be encouraging people to fail like that was something they weren't going to do naturally? Well, we only fail naturally if we're trying things. And often we don't try things. And there are really good reasons for that. Failure can be really, really costly. There are some kinds of failure that can kill you. There are kinds of failure that can lose your relationships, that can bankrupt you, that can make you really sick, that can cause you terrible injuries or lose your reputation. There are failures that can destroy you. People are afraid of failure. They're especially afraid of social failure because we're social animals. And sometimes people will take on other kinds of risks at much higher levels before they'll take on a social failure. They would rather stay quiet in what seems to be an emergency if everyone else doesn't think it seems like a big deal because they don't want to be embarrassed. That's kind of a stupid choice, but it emphasizes how strongly we fear social consequences, even beyond physical danger consequences. So, if we want to be able to fail safely so that we can learn and grow from those failures, we need to make it safe. If we want someone else to be able to fail so that they can learn and advance knowledge, maybe they work for us and we want them to try things and learn things and improve the product we're working on or whatever. Maybe they're a child and we want them to strive in school, strive athletically, be socially outgoing, etc. We need to make it safe. Maybe we have a spouse that we wish would do something differently. We need to make it safe. Maybe we want to change something in ourselves. We need to make it safe. to make it safe for someone to fail, you need to let them have small failures with bearable consequences. You can't yell at people for failing if you want them to keep trying. You can't punish them for failing if you want them to keep trying. You can't punish yourself for failing if you want to keep trying. So what you need to do in order to make failure safe, well, there's a variety of things. One thing that happens with really smart children sometimes, often, it's called smart kid syndrome. Really smart kids tend to succeed in school very easily. They start off in elementary school and it's all a cinch. And maybe even all the way through high school it's a cinch. Or maybe they hit a point in high school where they can't do it all without studying anymore. Maybe they don't hit that till college. Maybe they don't hit it till graduate school. But at some point, you're going to hit a wall, no matter how smart you are, of being hit with challenges that are no longer easy. If you have never been tested to the point of failure, this is a brand new thing and it's an existential crisis. If this is hard for me, maybe I'm not as smart as everyone says I am, I better hide it. I better not try this thing that's too hard. There is a crisis, and most kids hit it in elementary school where the stakes are lower. If you're really, really bright, you have the unfortunate situation of hitting it later when the stakes are much higher and you might flunk out of college or lose your job or not be able to get into the graduate program you wanted to because you never have learned how to study because you never had to before. The way to prevent that is to make sure you're not praising people for being smart. If you praise people, and especially children, for being smart, that's an identity thing. And it's about, people hear that as being, this is easy, everything is easy for me. And if that's suddenly not true, that's a threat to their identity and a threat to their being sure of respect and love from their parents and other people around them. If their identity is tied up with things being easy, which is what we usually mean by smart, then when it's hard, they've lost that identity and they've lost that connection, and that's terrifying. So you don't want to praise people for being smart, no matter how smart they are. It's not helpful. What you want to praise is persistence in trying things that they're not succeeding at right away. And you want to praise approaches that they're trying. Hey, I noticed you did some really avant-garde color choices there on that painting. That's an interesting contrast. What do you think you're going to do on the next one? It's better than, what a pretty picture. You're such a good artist. Specifics and praising trying new things, way more helpful. You want to praise the process, not the particular point that they've gotten to. If you praise the particular point they've gotten to and not the process of getting there, they'll stop. Oh, this is good. Okay, I'm going to do just this. This is how I get parental praise. You want to go, wow, you've come so far. I remember you used to have trouble doing this skill, and you've worked and worked, and now you can do this, and I know you're working on this other skill. It's the process of growth that you want to be praising in yourself too. I've been playing a game recently called Creature Quest, and it's a phone game. It's, you're fighting monsters and collecting monsters, so it's kind of like a mashup of a dungeon game and Pokemon. And it's got a couple of really complicated features in it that are not things I've ever dealt with before in any game. Partly I haven't played games of that type before, and partly this has some new features. And I was kind of overwhelmed by what the heck are these combo dots, and sometimes they're flying off and that's good, and sometimes they're staying there and that's good, and there are different colors of animals, and what the heck. It was overwhelming. But what I noticed about this game is it sets a very, very low cost on failure. So I have been able to learn how to play this game without being scared of it. I've seen a lot of games where I'm just like, oh, this is too much, I'm not even going to try to play this because it's obviously over my head. I've never played a game like this before. This one, I can go ahead and fail and learn something from it, and I think the creators of the game are really onto something with it. The only thing you can do that is a failure, really, I mean, the only thing you can lose is a battle. You lose a battle, and then at the end of the battle, your dead monsters come back to life, and you can try again. Maybe you try a different team. Maybe you try a different strategy. Maybe you build up your creatures a little more before you try that battle again. Try a different battle right now. You can always try something else. And looking at how they designed the game, I really admired that because they are addressing casual gamers, which means people who are not already committed to this huge game they're going to spend hours and hours on at home. People are playing it, you know, in the moments they have in their phone. They're waiting for a bus or, you know, whatever. So you want it to be something they can easily pick up and put down, and you want it not to be intimidating. They've really succeeded at that, and it's helped me see some of the ways that you can make it cheap to fail so that people are willing to keep failing and learn new things. In education, there's a concept called scaffolding, which is where you start from where the student is, and you provide them just enough support, information, help, to get them to reach out a little bit farther than they are now and do something that they couldn't previously do. And then they can practice with that with gradually less and less support. And then when they can do that on their own, you can scaffold them out to the next step. It's just like if you're helping someone learn to ride a bike, maybe at first you just show them how the bike works, then you have them sit on the bike while you hold it up and you show them this is the motion you're going to be doing. Maybe you have them ride on it while you walk along with them. Start having them go a little faster, start having them do it on their own. Eventually, they're going to be riding by themselves. It's maybe not a great example because probably we shouldn't be doing the training wheel thing. But anyway, the idea is you provide less and less support, but you don't stop providing support. You tailor your support to where they are and where they're going next. And you can do that for yourself as well. That's all a way of making failure less painful. Don't let them fall as far. Maybe less likely. You want to balance that. You want to make sure that they can see how well they're succeeding and tailor their approach to it. Not just make sure they succeed every time no matter what. That's not actually learning, that's just doing it for them. The kinds of things that people can fear in failure can be physical harm, they can be practical punishment like loss of a job or privileges, they can be social disapproval, as I mentioned, anger or mockery, withdrawal of attention even, from a parent in particular, even something like, can be not just daunting, but like it can hurt to have a parent look disappointed. And being disappointed yourself is also a thing that you fear. So when you want to encourage someone to try, whether it's yourself or someone that you are trying to teach or mentor, you want to reduce the effect of all of these things. You want to make it a positive for them to have a failure within a limited area that they can then learn from. You can go, so how'd that go? Oh, interesting. So what are you going to try next time? Not, how could you do that and end up failing like that? Don't ever do that again. Don't ever do that again is saying don't try. Stay in this little groove that I've set up for you. Don't you dare innovate or grow. There was an exercise that somebody brought up in another talk. It was about seeking rejection in order to kind of get yourself stronger in the face of rejection. And I can see the value of that because you're saying, you're showing yourself that the cost of failure is not actually that bad. It's tolerable. You're practicing it until it's not a big deal. I had one objection to that, which is that you're actually offloading your burden onto all the people you're seeking rejection from. And I don't think it's fair to offload the burden or the risk of your personal growth onto other people. I'm not sure how to address that for that exercise, but if a man wants to be more confident about making romantic overtures, and he does that by making a whole bunch of overtures to women that he thinks are going to reject him, he is creating not just an inconvenience for those women, but actually a fear, because getting overtures from strange men is actually dangerous for women because they never know when one is going to be dangerous. So I'd just like to say, when you set up situations for yourself to fail in, try to make sure that the dangers and the burdens are on yourself or on people who are into that, and not just on random strangers who are trying to do their jobs. Let's see what I haven't uncovered here. I think that's pretty much it. Whether you're raising children, teaching students, mentoring employees, working with colleagues, or trying to improve yourself, failing is really, really important. And in order to be able to use the magical power of failure, we need to make it easy for people, including ourselves, to fail without it being a disaster. So, I hope you all fail. I hope you all fail quickly and often and easily and obviously. I want you to see your failures and learn from them and grow from them and try something new to fail at.